set to erupt on the streets of Adelaide.
Oh, yes.
The 600 horsepower V8 Supercars are back for the third running of the Clipsal 500.
Oh, this is Brad Jones. That's a big rollover.
Last year, under stormy skies, Mark Scaife drove the race of his life to claim his first Clipsal crown. This year, the King has lost none of his sting. A perfect score at Phillip Island Shell Series opener 2 weeks ago showed the champs on track to go back-to-back. The City of Churches welcomes fans across the globe to the Cathedral of Speed. This is Adelaide and the Clipsal 500, round 2 of the 2001 Shell Championship Series. Live and exclusive to your home of motorsport, Network 10.
Day 2, double points and the ultimate victory. The crowd was roaring yesterday, but the best is yet to come on this stunning weekend in Adelaide. Hello, I'm Bill Woods. Welcome to this memorable main straight here. Another 250-kilometre race awaits us. This time, though, there are 360 championship points on offer. And on that subject, Craig Lowndes yesterday made history. He'd won 3 events here for HRT, and now he's done it for Ford, and a lot sooner than they expected, to close within 9 points of Mark Scaife, his former Holden teammate, in the championship. Let's take a look.
That is a monster. This is at turn 9 and what? This is the start though. It's a massive jump. Get underneath Glenn. Oh, and it was Glenn that got crossed up and got Kelly.
V8 Supercars Champion.
Oh, can you believe this motor race?
See Bronny lining up the rear tyres. He was like he was getting away from a bank robbery there.
A remarkable contest. 16 of the 40 cars did not make it to the finish line. It was a heavy day in terms of attrition. The teams have been working very, very hard overnight. And this is what's in store today on what should be a very spectacular day again. Remarkably fine weather. We'll detail that in just a moment. The Celebrity Challenge is up front. That's been very exciting in many ways. And the Clipsal 500 is race 2. Once again, welcome to you, Barry Sheen. So much excitement delivered on day 1. It's hard to believe. This event just keeps doing it.
Quite amazing. I mean, that race yesterday was the best V8 race. I think it's probably the best car race I've ever seen. Anybody could sit down for 2.5 hours in front of the television or whatever it was. It was absolutely stunning. And South Australia, I mean, they really lay it on, don't they? I mean, to get any better than this, I don't think you can get any better.
Well, South Australia's government has renewed its commitment to this event for another 5 years, which will take us up to 2008. That's pretty big.
That is ever so big, and I mean, it is so good for our sport. You know, when you think about it, as I told John Olsen 2 years ago, we got the biggest and the best touring car series in the whole world, and we should be really proud of it, and we are.
Barry, we'll talk more about tactics with our chief commentators Neil Crompton and Mark Osler later, but pit stops obviously have been a major factor. Brilliant tactics from the Gibson Motorsport team yesterday to get Craig Lowndes across the line first, but it's like shuffling a big pack of cards, isn't it? And Lowndes was the ace that kept coming out on top.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the Gibson lot are really, really together. But at the end of the day, when you look how close the finish was, you know, with all the other guys and that, I mean, it was only sort of 2 seconds or 3 seconds lost over 2 pit stops, and it's the end of the day.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. A great drive. Russell Ingall made up the top 3. The head of Ford Racing, Howard Marsden, must be pretty happy, though, with the hard work that he's put in to get Ford up the front, in particular Craig Lowndes. And a very important day for Scaife and Lowndes today. A 9-point lead in the championship, another 84 points in the championship to Jason Bright in 3rd place. He with the Holden Racing team, of course, in 2001. Greg Rust, along with Grant Daniel, will be patrolling pit lane today. Here's Rusty with the latest news.
Well, Greg Murphy at the end of the opening round of the championship was in 4th position, but it was a tough day for the boys at Kmart Racing yesterday, Murph.
Yeah, it was a hard day out in the office yesterday, mate. My car ending up in the barriers, and Todd's getting hit from every angle. I think he got more hits than yesterday than Elvis or a round with Mike Tyson. But No, we're back today. The cars are fine. The guys didn't have to work too late to put them back together, and we're looking good for today, although we've got to start from 30th, which isn't the best place to be getting from.
Todd Love, well, we've got you here as well. What happened there yesterday? You look like you were trying to make your way into pit lane, is that correct?
Yeah, exactly what happened. Garth actually come up the inside and tried to pass. He had no idea I was coming into the pit, so it wasn't really anybody's fault. It was just a bit of an awkward position for both of us, so it didn't go to the stewards or anything, and unfortunately I lost a lot of time and a lot of positions, but got back out there.
Got a news flash for you. Sometimes it's a bit lucky to be starting off the back, you know.
Apparently so. Apparently so. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be a tough day today.
Well, it certainly should be. Are you both up to it? And you mentioned the cars are okay. I mean, how are you feeling physically? I know you'd be in tip-top shape. You haven't had many laps.
Yeah, I have. I'm feeling pretty good. Yesterday, the shroud around the gear lever came off, and basically there was hot air from the exhaust and from the gearbox coming straight up going to my face. And I was trying to work out why I wasn't feeling so good, but I realised later on that there was probably about 80 or 90 degree air coming straight into my face, and I just was struggling to breathe. So we fixed that, and the car felt a lot better this morning.
Often people say that when you hit the Sunday morning warm-up, it's a case of, oh my goodness, you feel every bone in your body. How did you feel this morning, Todd?
Exactly that. My hand had blisters on it from the gear lever, and I could hardly even change gears. But in the race, we're just going to have to grit our teeth and have a go. It is one of the hardest races of our championship, and a lot of people don't realise how tough it actually is out there. So Sunday night, tonight, we're actually going to really feel how hard it actually is.
Awesome event here, isn't it? I mean, look at this crowd here again today.
Incredible. I mean, riding around before the parade lap, there's just people everywhere. It's a phenomenal event. The people love it. They're showing it with their feet. I think next year and the year after and the year after, it's going to keep growing.
Good on you, boys. Keep plugging away today.
Thanks, Rusty.
Yesterday's race was jam-packed full of incidents, and a couple of those incidents had very different outcomes in terms of the way the officials saw them. The most notable of which was this one. Remember Paul Radisich making that radical move on Mark Scaife. He was tucked in behind him for lap after lap after lap, and we heard word from race control that Mark Scaife was likely to get a bad sportsmanship flag for holding up the field so badly and frustrating Radisich. But of course it ended in tears because Radisich ended up getting stuck into the back of Scaife, and off he went. Now, another incident that looked very much the same, I should say, was Jason Bargwanna and John Bowe. But Jason Bargwanna was actually given a stop-go penalty. So why the difference in the outcome? Well, we sought explanation for that this morning, and certainly a lot of people in the pit lane are asking why? Well, what happened in terms of the Radisich-Scaife debacle, if you like, was that Tim Schenken, the race director, and the other race stewards decided that, as per their driver's briefing, not only yesterday but in recent years, they said, we don't want drivers aggressively defending at the start of the race. We don't mind if you defend at the end of a race, but we're not going to cop it at the very beginning of the race. And so we decided that it was a racing incident. As far as Bargs was concerned, he was just pushing too hard, made a blue, and was given a stop-go penalty for it. The umpire may have spoken, but a lot of questions down here.
Those, so watch for him and Marcus Ambrose, third fastest this morning. But now here's Lisa with the national anthem. towards the FA18 and shivers down the spines of about 60,000 people here lining the streets of Adelaide for the Clipsal 500. 360 championship points at stake in this 250-kilometre race. Australia's best in one of the hottest and most demanding events of the season. The cars are in, the drivers are buckled up and set to go. And if you have a digital television, then Digital 2 on Network 10, your home of motorsport, is also officially on. Marvellous atmosphere. Neil Crompton, Mark Osler and Barry Sheen will once again bring you the action. Greg Rust and Grant Denyer in pit lane, where there'll be so many important moments in this race, I'm sure.
And it was 2 hours of torture yesterday, Bill. 78 laps, the Clipsal 500, round 2 of the Shell Championship Series. We've got 38 cars on the grid for this encounter today. We've heard in the lead-up just how tough it is. So much drama yesterday, so many incidents, controversial incidents, people talking well into the night about what's right and wrong in motorsport, and there's the man who led them at the end of 78 laps with some great driving and a terrific strategy, but dogged all the way by Stephen Johnson, and some scores to settle. Mark Scaife struggling back into 4th position on the grid after leading and being barreled off by Paul Radisich. It was an extraordinary battle, Mark.
Yeah, and we hear from the pits that the ambient temperature's getting up into the high 20s, track temperature over 30 degrees, and guarantee that the internal temperatures in these cars will be approaching 50 plus by the time these things get underway. So you thought yesterday's race was tough. 250 k's is a big ask when you come straight out of the box. Keep in mind, these blokes have got to turn around and do it again with only a few hours rest.
Yeah, Mark, I've just come up from off the grid. It's so hot down there. It's quite incredible.
Well, this morning when we arrived at the circuit, it was actually quite chilly. There was a lot of talk about the potential for showers and rain today. It's gone away.
And the key thing to remember, you hear these drivers quite often talking about yesterday's race being a 78-lap qualifier. What they mean by that is it's double points today. 180 points yesterday determined the finishing order from yesterday's race, determined the starting order for today. It's 360 points up for the winner. So today is payday.
And here's how they'll line up. It's Craig Lowndes from pole position in the Ford. Alongside him, Stephen Johnson. Then Russell Ingall, the first of the Holdens, alongside him from Holden Racing Team. Points leader, Mark Scaife. Then Stephen Ellery, terrific job to get into the top 5. Garth Tander, a tough day at the office. Jason Bright in the wars in the remaining laps yesterday.
Good fight back from John Bowe as well. Jason Bargwanna, we just spoke to him earlier. He sneaked inside the top 10. Great effort too from Dean Canto, the Konica champion. He's doing well on the streets of Adelaide. Larkham, Faulkner got caught up with that terrible incident with the hose yesterday. Fortunately, everyone got away relatively unscathed. Stephen Richards rounds out the top 16.
Larry Perkins, quiet day for him. Anthony Tradd involved in that melee at turn 4 on the opening lap. Dougal McDougal, Tyler Mecklem, Trevor Ashby, Angus Fogg, Greg Ritter and Ross Halliday, 24.
Unbelievable atmosphere here as the crowd really rev it up. We're only moments away from the start of the formation lap. Brad Jones, Paul Will, Paul Radisich. Look where the rat starts now. 29th, had a brilliant start to the race yesterday, had enormous race speed, but ended up trashing the car toward the end. He retired early.
Rodney Forbes with brake problems yesterday, and then a gearbox selection drama late in the race. Gary Holt, Alan Heath, Marcus Ambrose. Remember that incident on pit lane, or against the pit lane wall? Watch for him in this race. He'll be coming out of 36. You've got people like Seaton, Radisich, Murphy and Ambrose at the back of the pack. There's Alan Heath. He'll be coming out of pit lane. Won't be taking his spot on the grid.
Tough luck for the South Australian driver in front of his home crowd, but boy oh boy, we've seen this race so many times before. We've had 5 250k races here over 3 years, and in 2 of those the winner has come from the back of the grid. It's both been done by Holden Racing Team Commodores. One by Craig Lowndes the first time around. Mark Scaife repeated it in 2000.
Some of the big incidents yesterday, there was a coming together between Ambrose and Kelly. I talked about that a moment ago, and it pitched Ambrose against the wall just underneath the starter's flag there. Tander got involved with Kelly, Radisich and Scaife. We talked about that earlier. Jason Bright and Glenn Seaton, Stephen Richards and Todd Kelly. Of course, there was the overshoot in the pit lane with Greg Murphy. He missed his pit on the first crucial pit stop and had to go around again as we go on board with Mark Scaife. And then the Greg Murphy steering failure, which was catastrophic and could have been a lot worse for him.
We've got every angle covered here. Enormous number of Channel 10 cameras throughout the field. Here's Russell Ingall carrying the Monroe in-car camera. A number of different views from each of the cars. And there's Craig Lowndes, winner yesterday. What a phenomenal effort by the Gibson Motorsport team. And this young man, he's won 4 out of the 5 races held on the streets of Adelaide. What an incredible record. This man too, what an outstanding effort. Leapt up for 15th or 16th in qualifying, managed to finish 5th. So the Super Cheap Autos team putting in an outstanding performance. That's put Stephen right up near the pointy end of the grid. Cars weaving backwards and forwards, trying to generate some heat, temperature into their tyres, get them up to the right temperature and the right pressure.
Shell Helix camera on board Paul Radisic's car, one of 4 camera views that we have. We looked at him to the left of the driver's side, now out through the windscreen. We've got a 360-degree panning shot and a bumper shot. And if yesterday's any indication, that'll be a busy set of cameras. And there's Greg Murphy, the man that started from pole position, had a pretty tough day yesterday. As they go through this critical warm-up procedure, you can expect to get somewhere between about 50 and 60 degrees into the tyres in terms of temperature. Optimum's probably somewhere around about 80 or 90 degrees. And here's the Ford race analysis on this Adelaide street circuit. 78 laps. Depending on pace cars, somewhere between probably an hour 45 and 2 hours of racing. 38 starters, compulsory pit stops for tyres and for fuel. And they can only be taken when a pit window that's theoretically open between laps 16 and 57. And last year's winner was Mark Scaife. Yesterday's winner was Craig Lowndes.
Mark Scaife's got his eyes on the big prize here today. He knows that this is the double points race. He knows that he's managed to survive quite a controversial incident yesterday, coming together between himself and Paul Radisic. Dropped him right back down through the field. He managed to fight his way back, and now he's up to 4th. And he knows that today is payday. 360 points on offer for the winner. And of course, the winner of today's race is declared the winner of the Clipsal 500.
And a lot of discussion about that incident between those two. Of course, the Shell guys are saying, well, Scaife was holding us up so badly and just needed to be dispatched. And of course, the Holden guy saying that ain't no way to pass a car. So depending on which camp you support, everybody will have their point of view on that one.
I think it was a good call on behalf of Cams, actually, because Mark was really making it difficult, wasn't he? And at the end of the day, you know, there was no penalty to either, so I think it was a good call.
One of our competitors who are stuck in pit lane is Alan Heath. He's one of the Konica V8 Supercar drivers, one of several joining the cars for the race here today. He went out to join the cars on the grid and smacked the wall while on cold tyres. He then had to come in and fix some panel damage and close the door with some gaffer tape. So tough start to the day.
Neil, how sore are some of these drivers going to be? You've done this race yourself. You've done 250 Ks, slogging it out on Saturday. You've come back here Sunday. A lot of these drivers must be feeling the pain.
Absolutely, no question. In some ways, it's easier mentally the second day. You've been through it. You know what to expect. You kind of blew off that early race nervy thing, that tension. But physically, it's tough. Your hands hurt. You have blisters on your hands and your feet. Your lower back hurts. Shell Championship Round 2, Race 2, the Clipsal 500. That's Stephen Johnson looking out the left side of the Craig Lowndes Falcon.
Watch the chicane the first time. I think it's going to be fun and games.
Set for a start. Racing. The Clipsal 500 is go. Craig Lowndes makes a blinder. Scaife goes up on the outside of Radisic. Thunder towards the first chicane. Lowndes, Scaife, straight across the chicane. So does Ingle. Ellery goes berserk across there as well, as they head up to this crucial braking area at Wakefield Street.
Gee, I was surprised that Lowndes got away so well. He had a real lot of smoke pouring out of those rear tyres. He really got the power down, but he must have got good bite because he managed to beat the rest of them into that turn 1.
Oh, it's brilliant. I mean, to get that amount of lead in the first half a minute of the race is brilliant.
This is going to be the interesting thing, these opening laps. We've seen Craig Lowndes do it before, particularly on cold tyres. He's brilliant on the cold rubber, and if he can open a bit of a buffer now, he's going to try and do it. Big field here as they thunder down Bartels Road for the first time.
Remember, it was Scaife that was quick on cold rubber at Phillip Island. Look at this between Tander and Ingle battling for position into turn 9. Appears to have been a cleaner start to events compared to yesterday's race. Tander on the menacing run down the inside.
Oh, there's Ellery!
Bang into the back of Tander, turns him around. Nose to tail, Bow goes in, Larkham goes in, Dean Caddo's in there.
I think Rodney Forbes is another car in there too.
Glenn, yeah. Oh, dear.
Larko's got a lot of damage. Bow's got a lot of damage. He's out of business.
We saw Enferendas here yesterday.
Well, that was never on.
Stephen Ellery just came from a mile back.
Never on.
And he's paid the penalty. Oh, we've got a problem problems here for Jason Bright. He must have got caught up in that tangle as well. He's got smoke belching from the left front tyre and body damage as well as he swings it into the Holden Racing team.
It's going to be guard repair, front splitter off and replaced, and hopefully no geometry damage to the front suspension, but that's going to cost time. Expect that to be a good minute or more.
Racing team working feverishly away. They've got the slide hammer there. That's a large weight on a pole. They slide that back and it helps drag the sheet metal away from the damaged tyre.
They're opting to leave the fiberglass in play. Well, no, they're not. They're ripping some of it out of the way.
Look at this. I mean, I don't know whether there was a coming together between him and between Ellery and Bargs, maybe. It's slightly.
You need to see it again from earlier on. Great presence of mind from Bargwana there at one stage. I just saw him jump out of the way. It could have been a worse situation for him.
Have a look. No.
Now watch the Jason Bright sneak around on the inside here. This is where he did the damage to that left there. Just when he went over the curve there, that damage to his left wheel.
Just watch this, guys. Ellery down the inside. Dirty track, hard to pull up. Bang, tags. That's pretty straightforward.
Now watch Bright. Oh, you can't see him. He goes under the tree there, but that's where he clipped his left front wheel and did all the damage to the car.
Look at that.
So Lowndes really putting the pressure on straight away. 1.7 seconds was the gap.
He's gone.
Let's see what it's this time as he comes across. He's probably pumped it out a little bit more. 2.6 seconds now. So Lowndes, as we've seen so many times, when he gets a clear bit of track in front of him, he is absolutely dynamite. Mark Scaife in second, Stephen Johnson in third, Russell Ingall in the Castrol Commodore. Big challenge by Johnson on the inside. Scaife gives him racing room.
Scaife would be a little bit concerned when he sees a shell car come up the inside into Wakefield Street. You'd be like, well, okay, you take it.
That was good from Stephen, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, excellent move. He had good car speed out of the chicane. Actually, Scaife under attack now from Russell Ingall.
Oh, now Scaife's giving him room as well. Scaife knows. Now he's using his head here. He's looking at this situation and saying, well, I don't want to get involved in this. Everyone's all pumped up. He's going to give one a little bit of racing room and let the race settle down because we've got a long, long way to go. And we've got a safety car on the track.
Full course yellow. Now, this is the situation that Lowndes, for example, is going to hate. He's used a lot of car to make that margin into the brakes, working the tyres. Now you lose all that, and it's all gone for nothing.
You have to say in a situation like this, the race, the nature of the race, you think, oh, look at that.
Bryce, they're trying to keep him up, trying to get him up.
Keep him on the lead lap is what they want to do.
Keep him on the lead lap. Keep in mind under these regulations with the Clipsal 500, you are not allowed to pit under safety car conditions. So what they're going to try and do is try and get Bridie as close as they can to the leading bunch before they go back to green to minimise the amount of track position he's going to lose.
It's almost better in a race like this to try and stay in touch for the first sort of 10 or 15 and, you know, to get it under your belt and get everything hot. And
Shell Helix replay
struggling
shows where all that bodywork and fiberglass is making contact with the front left tyre and Jason Bright's car. It's up at turn 4 at the end of Wakefield Street. You can see once it body loads onto the front left-hand corner, it really rubs badly.
It's just such a shame you can be in the right place at the wrong time, and it's that's what you get. Poor old Craig's done a lot of hard work, and as you say, he's used up a lot of car, and then...
Well, safety
the fastest man on the track so far with a 1:27.5. Here's the situation while we have the safety car out. Lowndes, Johnson, Ingall, Scaife, Bargwana, Morris, Richards, Longhurst.
And the top 10 is rounded up by Larry Perkins and John Faulkner. Well, the safety cars have come out early on the Clipsal 500. More after this.
This is why the safety car is out after lap 4. A major tangle after Steve Ellery came together with Garth Tander. That's caused a few problems for the Holden Racing team. Jason Bright's been into the pits twice now for repairs, but John Bowe in bigger trouble as we go back to racing action.
Lowndes resumes where he left off at the top of the order. Johnson tucked in behind. Now, can Craig maintain this pace? He's the fastest man so far with a 1:27.5. He was about 5 or 6 tenths quicker than his nearest rivals in the opening couple of laps.
Now, we'll just clarify this situation for you at home about not being able to pit under yellow flags. It only applies to their 2 compulsory pit stops. In terms of that damage that Jason Bright's picked up, the team was able to bring him in under safety car to make further repairs to that front guard. It looks like they've managed to fix it now. And as a result of the safety car, it's allowed Jason not to lose too much track time. So he's fighting his way back from the rear of the field.
Just had a look at that replay as we came out of the ad break there. Les Laidlaw, team boss for Cat Racing. Some disappointed faces down here.
Very much so. Cat car was really good yesterday. We're really looking forward to today, and just getting caught up in someone else's stupidity is just really disappointing for the whole team.
You've had a word to JB. You can't fire the car up. Do you know why?
It's obviously damaged something on the front of the engine around the distributor or something like that. It's just no spark, and I've towed it around the back, so that's it. We're out for the day.
Hard luck, mate.
Thanks.
Paul Morris getting a bit of a short back and sides through the hairpin there.
Oh, look at this.
Rodney Forbes and Cameron McConville in the wall. Lap 6 of 78. What's all that about?
Could this be another safety car, I wonder?
I wouldn't mind betting.
Safety car flags are out, so we will go back to controlled intervention of the race. This is an unusual looking position. I can't even quite work out where it is. We'll take a look at the Shell Helix replay.
Now they're battling over.
It's already happened by this stage, has it?
Yeah.
Well and truly. So that's.
Look at the left front on Forbes' thing. He's got no steering now.
Just about squeezes the Team Kiwi Commodore out.
Yeah, up at turn 5, it's the area where, for example, Glenn Seaton and Jason Bright came unglued late in yesterday's race. But that's happened just slightly prior to that. Cameron McConville out of the car, and we've marked the crash zone there for you. That complex up near East Terrace.
Disappointment for the Lansvale racing team. Their debut of a VX Commodore. Oh, David Bernard in trouble as well.
Shocker weekend for him. He is sick. Had a difficult qualifying, had a real tough race yesterday, struggled out of contention, and now something sidelined him as well. This is an amazing start. For quite a long proportion of the race yesterday, it looked as though we may have got away without safety car intervention.
Now we've had two very early on, only lap 7 of 78. This is going to be a long, hard afternoon if the safety car has to work as hard as it's doing right now.
And reinforce the point that this is a race that's determined by the laps. It's a 78-lap race. It's not a timed race. So Rodney Forbes climbs out of his stricken Falcon. Safety car is on the circuit. We'll be back with more of the Clipsal 500 in just a moment.
We're back with race 2 of the Clipsal 500. Now this is Garth Tander's crew working to get him back on track while the field is under a safety car. The window for pit stops, that is scheduled pit stops, does not start until lap 15. We're still 7 laps away from that, but already we've seen Bright and Tander come into the pits. Bow couldn't even make it back, unfortunately for the Cat Racing team. The leader still Craig Lowndes. Of course, that hard-fought margin that he had gained after a couple of laps is now reduced to just a car length, theoretically, when they get going again under the safety car. Grant Denyer.
We just saw Garth Tander take a pit stop there under the safety car. Now, how he's come in because he has a bent steering arm as a result of that crash in turn around the back over there. But now that it has been straightened, they've got underneath, straightened that steering arm. Troubles too for David Bernard. Now, his engine has just stopped. He's trying to restart it as well. They're running a systems check to see if they can fix it to get him back out there, continuing his bad run of luck. And for Jason Bright, trouble also, not because of that panel damage, but because the way he left pit lane. You're supposed to leave pit lane in the fast lane. He left in the slow lane, so they're now having a look into that as well.
An early exit for Cameron McConville on day 1, an early exit on day 2. Team boss Wally Story, what's happened?
We don't know for sure, Greg. All I've heard from Cameron over the radio basically is he's been passing Rodney Forbes up the top of the hill there, and Rodney's apparently tried to switch back or something, and they've had it coming together, but more than that we don't know. I haven't seen a replay on the television screen or anything like that.
Seems like a lot of damage to the front end. That's put you out.
Oh yes, I'd say we'd definitely be out. According to Cameron, we're definitely out. I'd say she's got no steering. She's not answering the helm very well.
Well, Trev's still out there, mate. Best of luck with him.
Yeah, he's a pretty reliable old punter, old Trev, so he brought home the bacon yesterday. We'll see how he goes today, eh?
16 cars out yesterday, but that was over the entire 250 kilometres. We've only gone 8 laps. We've lost a couple of cars already, and a couple more certainly with doubt lingering over them. Just to look at the V8 Supercar website. This is the official site, of course, where you can catch up on all the stats and results, driver profiles, team profiles, and the latest news in the world of the Shell Championship Series. DreamDrive.com. I beg your pardon, it's DreamDrive.tv. We're so familiar with saying .com after everything these days. But anyway, there it is. The official competition starts round 3 at Eastern Creek, but you can sign up right now, spend millions of dollars, fictitious dollars that is, and have your own fantasy motorsport team.
Wally speak is unique, isn't it? Not answering to the helm very well. That'd be an understatement. Well, this is Mark Scaife. He was initially looking quick and then just all of a sudden got shuffled down the order to 4th, and I suspect Mark's quite comfortable, and he said earlier at the start of the race, prior to the start of the race, just don't want to hurt the car. I want to make sure I'm there. I want to buy a ticket to the last 25 laps.
Well, exactly. I mean, you saw that thing that Steve Ellery calls. I mean, it would have been so easy to have been an innocent party involved in that, wouldn't it?
Well, he said he was looking for he wanted to change the setup because yesterday he found that his sole concentration on setup was to save those rear tyres. So he set the car up quite soft in the rear, and that made it a little bit understeer. He didn't have good race speed. So this day he's gone out with a slightly different setup. He's slightly stiffened the front end up a little bit, but he's still conscious of making those rear tyre lifts. So I'm sure he was just taking it easy, letting those hot heads get past him and let the race settle into some sort of a rhythm.
And just to recap this situation, the cars that have been hurt in that incident were Ellery, Tander, Bright, Larkham, all contenders, and Bow is out. Not a good situation. Craig Lowndes leads under the safety car at the moment. We're back with the Clipsal 500 in just a moment.